So I'm back, right? It's been a while. I guess you could just say I needed to take some mental health days. So, today's video I wanted to answer some questions that my friends have asked me on Facebook about bipolar disorder and my personal experiences with it. So that's just what we're gonna do. So I guess we'll just jump into it. So the first question is, how did you explain it to your kid? So I literally explained it to my child, who's 12, by the way. I have two children, but the oldest is 12, so he's aware of everything. But I explained it to him exactly how the doctor explained it to me. And that is that I have chemical imbalances in my brain, and that my brain on occasion will release all of its happy chemicals at one time, which puts me into a manic episode. And then on other occasions, my brain will not produce any happy chemicals at all, which puts me into a depressive episode. So I explained it to him just like that. I just told him, Mama has a chemical imbalance in her brain, and sometimes she's very happy and energetic, and other times she's very sad and doesn't want to do anything. Of course, there's much more to it than just that, but that's the basic way I explained it to him. So, secondly, how has it affected your role as a mom? So, my therapist and I have traced back my bipolar all the way back to high school. So, essentially, I've been dealing with bipolar for the greater part of my life and my entire life of motherhood. So it hasn't really changed anything other than making me aware of it as being a thing. I mean, I always knew that I felt emotions more deeply than most other people did, but I didn't realize that there was an actual medical diagnosis that went along with that. But yeah, it hasn't changed my role. I guess the only real thing that it's changed is that now that we know, we've put together emergency plans in place for if I ever need to be hospitalized. So that's one thing that's changed. But anything other than that, I mean, I've always just been Anita, you know? So I'm still the same person I've always been. So yeah. Next question, how did you find out? I covered this in my last video when I talked about my psychosis. I found out when I was 28 years old. I went into a clinical psychosis, which required hospitalization. I believed that the government was trying to kill me, and I thought that I had killed a little girl named Mariah Woods. It was a huge news story in my city, and it actually happened right down the street from where I live. But this little girl went missing, and I thought that the news stories about it were about me. I thought that I had multiple personality disorder, and that my evil personality had kidnapped this little girl, and that the only way to get the little girl back was if I were to hospitalize myself and wait until my evil personality came out, and then they could, you know, get the location of the little girl out of my evil personality. Of course, this was not at all what was reality. It was just a delusion that I had, which, by the way, delusions and hallucinations are a part of bipolar disorder. Bipolar 1 specifically. If you have delusions and hallucinations, and you're bipolar, that automatically upgrades you from bipolar 2 to bipolar 1. Psychosis means full-blown mania, which is a characteristic of bipolar 1. So I am bipolar 1. But yeah, next question. What is your partner's opinion on it, and how does it affect your relationship? So I think my husband, I can't really speak for him, but I would like to say that he's a little sad about it because he just doesn't like to see me struggle. But it hasn't really strongly affected our relationship because honestly, I feel like it's made us stronger. It's explained a lot of my behaviors over the years and my reactions to certain situations. And it's kind of brought us closer together. So I would say, generally speaking, he wishes I didn't have to struggle with it, but he loves me nonetheless, and I love him, like, deeply. So yeah, we'll just go with that. What thing do you hate most about it? So I hate that I cannot wake up and feel in a good mood and just accept that it's a good mood. Anytime I wake up and I feel like I'm having a good day, there's always something in the back of my mind saying, is this just a manic episode? Am I about to go crazy? Am I about to go into psychosis? I can never enjoy a good day because I've always got that little piece of my mind thinking like, there might be something wrong here. You might be manic. So that's one thing that I hate. One thing that I do like about it is mania. Now, ask almost any bipolar person. They'll tell you that mania is hella fun when you're in it. It's terrible, but it feels really nice. It feels like you're on the best drug you've ever been on. But it's extremely dangerous. Extremely. Like, in mania, I have done the craziest things that I have ever done. Like, speeding down a highway, slamming on my brakes, turning erratically, driving erratically, just crazy stuff. So it's extremely dangerous. My baby's crying. I will be right back. Stay right there. Okay, so I forget where I was, but oh yeah, I was talking about mania and what's something you like about bipolar, and that's mania. Mania feels great. Feels great at the time, but it's not a good thing. It's actually a very bad thing because it is very dangerous. But I mean, I like it. It feels nice, but it's not good. So I'll talk more about that later, but we'll go to the next question. So what are your tips and tricks when you experience an episode? So honestly, I don't have very many tips on when you're experiencing an episode, but I do have tips for just generally managing bipolar disorder. So a lot of great things you can do are the same thing that regular, ordinary people do, which is leading a healthy lifestyle, eating the right foods, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, getting exercise regularly. Now that's very important, especially for me. Things like maintaining a schedule, keeping a planner. Yeah, just basically anything that they would tell you to do in a self-help book is probably a good thing to do if you're bipolar. These things help manage the disorder. They help manage your anxiety. They help stabilize your moods because bipolar is technically a mood disorder, which means your mood shifts from lows to highs, and the lows are really low and the highs are really high, especially if you're bipolar 1 like I am. Yeah, so next question. Let's see. Can you feel the mania coming on? So the short answer to this is no. Absolutely not. I never know when it's coming, but I know when it's happening. Not always, but most of the time. When I'm experiencing a hypomanic episode, which is a lesser form of mania, I am fully aware that it's happening because I start to exhibit all of the signs, all the telltale signs of manic behavior, like driving too fast, spending too much money, energetic, talking too fast, starting conversations with too many people, oversharing information. They call that pressured speech. I like to lovingly refer to it as word vomit. But what else? Hypersexuality, where you just want to get down all the time. What else? Impulse control problems, where you just completely lose all of your ability to manage your impulses. Like, have you ever gotten angry at the grocery store and thought to yourself, man, I just want to slap that person? Well, if you have bipolar disorder and you think that and you're in a manic episode, odds are you're going to slap that person because you have no control over your impulses. So that's a huge problem. I mean, I'm not a violent bipolar. There are people who have bipolar that are violent. I'm not one of them. But that is, generally speaking, a symptom of bipolar. But that's just not a symptom that I possess. But I was just using that as an example to say, like, if you've ever gotten so angry at somebody or something that you felt like you wanted to do something, if you were in a manic episode, you would not be able to help yourself from acting on that impulse. That's all I'm trying to say. So, yeah, we practice a lot of coping skills to manage our impulses, just so you know. How has it affected your relationship with your parents and your siblings? So honestly, it has positively affected my relationships. I've always been really close with my mom. We talk almost every day, and we have extended conversations via FaceTime every weekend, usually both Saturday and Sunday over coffee in the morning. So the only real change I would say with my parents is that my mom comes to visit a lot more often, usually because I'll be having an episode and I'll need her to come stay with me to help me take care of the kids, or I'll need her to watch the kids so I can go to the hospital, things like that. Same with my mother-in-law. She's great too. She comes and stays with us whenever I need her as well. So I'm very fortunate to have that sort of support system, and I know a lot of bipolar folks don't always have that available to them. So I would say if you have a friend who has bipolar disorder and they need to go seek help somewhere, just offer a helping hand to them, because if they don't have the kind of family support like I have, I imagine it could be very hard for them to just navigate daily life. So yeah. Next question. Let's see. Ooh, here's a good one. Bipolar. I am bipolar versus I have bipolar. So this is a hot topic, and this is for all of you non-bipolar folks to learn something. So there is a huge debate on whether or not you should say I am bipolar or I have bipolar. So the difference between the two is the people who argue you should say I am bipolar find that bipolar is a part of their identity and a part of who they are, which is why they should say I am bipolar. Now the people who say that you should say I have bipolar think that bipolar does not define them and should not be a label for them, and therefore they should say I have because it is something they have and not something they are. So those are the two arguments for either side. Now I'm going to say my opinion on that, and feel free to disagree with me. I know I might get a lot of hate about it, but I generally speaking say I am. But I also say I have. I use them interchangeably. And it is my firm belief that you should never tell a bipolar person what they should refer to their illness as. You should never, never, never. It's a very personal choice. If somebody tells you they say I am, you should respect that. And if somebody says I have, you should respect that too. So yeah, that's just my opinion on the matter. So take it or leave it. So what triggers your bipolarness? So triggers are a big thing with bipolar. A lot of things are triggers for a lot of people. A lot of the general triggers are things like drugs and alcohol. Those can trigger both manic and depressive episodes. Caffeine can trigger manic episodes in people as well if you're caffeine sensitive. I am not caffeine sensitive. I drink at least 2 cups of coffee a day and I don't have any issues with that. Antidepressants can trigger mania. I've even heard of people going to concerts and having like all of the overstimulation of the loud music and the energy of the crowd and things like that, having that be a trigger for manic episodes. Stress is a huge trigger, for me especially, stress. And that can trigger both manic and depressive episodes. Yeah, I can't really think of any other triggers, but yeah, triggers are definitely a thing, and we do learn in therapy about how to avoid certain triggers. If you have PTSD, some of your past traumas can be triggers as well, so that's something to be aware of. Yeah, I don't know. So we'll move on to the next question. I think it's the last question too. What made you decide to get treated? So like I said earlier in the video, I woke up one morning and I thought that I had killed a little girl, and that is what made me decide to go to the hospital. So at the time, I thought with my whole heart that that was exactly what had happened. I had no doubts in my mind. If you said, Anita, no, that's not what happened, I would say, you're the crazy one. You need to go to the hospital. So that just also goes together with the whole idea of, are you aware of your episodes? Sometimes I'm not aware of my episodes because I feel with my whole heart that what I'm experiencing is reality. So I have literal breaks with reality where what I am experiencing is not at all what is the truth, but what I feel is the truth for me at that time. I don't know how else to explain that. It's very scary stuff though when you do have breaks from reality, especially when you come out of it and you recognize what has happened and you're just so terrified about what could happen next time if you ever have that happen again, which is why I will always take my medication. That's a big problem with bipolar folks, and I even experience this myself, is where you believe there's nothing wrong with you, so you decide to stop taking your medication because you think there's nothing wrong, and that's actually a symptom of mania, is when you think you're all better, basically. There's actually a meme about it that's going around in my bipolar groups that says, like, it's the change my mind guy. So there's the guy sitting at the table and it says, like, I'm bipolar, change my mind. And then at the bottom it says, I changed my mind. And that is so true, because when you have bipolar disorder and you're going through an episode, you think you're completely fine. You think that everybody else is crazy, and that is your reality. So yeah, it's totally true. And I always take my medication, even in episodes, just because I still have a little piece of myself telling me in the back of my mind that I need to take that medication, because honestly, because I have kids, I would never risk it. So I don't know, that's just me. But yeah, so those are all of the questions that I was going to answer. So if anybody else has any more questions, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to get to them. And I guess I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!